Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at A Woman Killed with Kindness by Thomas Heywood from somewhere in that borderline between sort of 1602, 1603-ish area. We're running out of plays that might have been from around about the Elizabethan. We're running out of those plausible texts. This is from very much the end of our line on that before we're really into the meaty, chunky goodness of Jacobean drama, and as we go forward there. But yes, so we're doing 2 sessions on this one, and to find out what happens in the first half of the play, reading the prologue, Jenkin, Falconer, and Sheriff is...
Hello, my name is Lynn Freitas. I'm a college composition teacher. I live in the Northwestern United States, and this is my buddy, Scooter.
Hey, reading Cranwell, Roger, and Spigot is...
My name is Alexandra, and I can't compete with Scooter.
Nobody can. Reading Francis and Shafton is...
Lois in London.
Reading Malby, Nicholas, and Susan is...
Briony in Lincolnshire.
Reading Frankford is...
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Wendoll and Cicely is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, and I'm hailing from Essex.
Reading Prologue... Oh, no, we've done that one. Reading Charles and Jack is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm not in the UK. It's warm. I have coffee and almonds. I would be happy to share.
Reading Anne and Keeper is...
Sarah Blake, actor, writer, and director in Germany, and I want almonds.
I'll have the coffee. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions as we go forward. So we're going to open with a reasonable chunk of the play. We're going to go from the prologue into the first scenes. So without further ado, prologue. Could you prologue, please?
I come but like a harbinger, being sent to tell you what these preparations mean. Look for no glorious state. Our muse is bent upon a barren subject, a bare scene. We could afford this twig a timber tree, whose strength might boldly on your favors build. Our russet, tissue, drone, a honeybee. Our barren plot, a large and spacious field. Our coarse, fair banquets. Our thin water, wine. Our brook, a sea. Our bat's eyes, eagle's sight. Our poet's dull and earthly muse, divine. Our ravens, doves. Our crows, black, feathers white. But gentle thoughts, when they may give the foil, save them that yield, and spare where they may spoil.
And we're going straight into Act 1, Scene 1. Enter Master John Frankford, Mistress Anne Frankford, Sir Francis Acton, Sir Charles Montford, Master Malby, Master Wendoll, and Master Cranwell.
Some music there. None lead the bride a dance?
Yes, she would she dance the shaking of the sheets, but that's the dance her husband means to lead her.
That's not the dance every man must dance, according to the ballad.
Music, oh, by your leave, sister. By your husband's leave, I should have said. The hand that but this day was given you in the church, I'll borrow. Sound! This marriage music hoists me from the ground.
You may caper, you're light and free. Marriage hath yoked my heels. Pray then pardon me.
I'll have you dance too, brother.
Master Frankford, you're a happy man, sir, and much joy succeed your marriage mirth. You have a wife so qualified, and with such ornaments, both of the mind and body. First, her birth is noble, and her education such as might become the daughter of a prince. Her own tongue speaks all tongues, and her own hand can teach all strings to speak in their best grace, from the shrillest treble to the hoarest bass. To end her many praises in one word, she's beauty and perfection's eldest daughter, only found by yours, though many a heart hath sought her.
But that I know your virtues and chaste thoughts, I should be jealous of your praise, Sir Charles.
Alexandra Cranwell.
Cranwell's script ran away. He speaks no more than you approve.
Nor flatters he that gives to her her due.
I would your praise could find a fitter theme than my imperfect beauties to speak on, such as they be. If they my husband please, they suffice me, now I am married. His sweet content is like a flattering glass, to make my face seem fairer to mine eye. But the least wrinkle from his stormy brow will blast the roses in my cheeks that grow.
A perfect wife already, meek and patient. How strangely the word husband fits your mouth, not married 3 hours since. Sister, 'tis good. You that begin betimes thus must needs prove pliant and duteous in your husband's love. Gramercy's brother wrought her to it already. Sweet husband, and a curtsy, the first day. Mark this, you that are bachelors and never took the grace of honest man. Mark this against you marry, this one phrase. In a good time, that man both wins and woos that takes his wife down in her wedding shoes.
Your sister takes not after you, Sir Francis. All his wild blood your father spent on you. He got her in his age, when he grew civil. All his mad tricks were to his land entailed, and you are heir to all. Your sister, she, hath to her dower her mother's modesty.
Lord, sir, in what a happy state live you. This mourning, which to many seems a burden, too heavy to bear, is unto you a pleasure. This lady is no clog, as many are. She doth become you like a well-made suit, in which the tailor hath used all his art. Not like a thick coat of unseasoned frieze forced on your back in summer. She's no chain to tie your neck and curb you to the yoke, but she's a chain of gold to adorn your neck. You both adorn each other, and your hands, methinks, are matches. There's equality in this fair combination. You're both scholars, both young, both being descended nobly. There's music in this sympathy, carries consort and expectation of much joy, which God bestow on you this first day until your dissolution. That's for I.
We keep you here too long, good brother Frankford. Into the hall, away. Go, cheer your guests. What, bride and bridegroom both withdrawn at once? If you be missed, the guests will doubt their welcome and charge you with unkindness.
To prevent it, I'll leave you here to see the dance within.
And so will I.
Exeunt Master and Mistress Frankford.
To part you, it were sin. Now, gallants, while the town musicians finger their frets within, and the mad lads and country lasses, every mother's child with nosegays and bride laces in their hats, dance all their country measures, rounds, and jigs, what shall we do? Hark, they're all on the hoy, they toil like mill horses and turn as round, marry, not on the toe. Aye, and they caper, not without cutting. You shall see tomorrow the hall floor pecked and dinted like a millstone made with their high shoes. Though their skill be small, yet they tread heavy where their hobnails fall.
Oh, leave them to their sports. Sir Francis Acton, I'll make a match with you. Meet me tomorrow at Chevy Chase. I'll fly my hawk with yours.
For what? For what?
Why, for £100.
Pawn me some gold of that.
Here are 10 angels. I'll make them good £100 tomorrow upon my hawk's wing.
'Tis a match, 'tis done. Another £100 upon your dogs. Dare ye, Sir Charles?
I dare. Were I sure to lose, I durst do more than that. Here's my hand. The first course for £100.
A match.
10 angels on Sir Francis Acton's hawk, as much upon his dogs.
I'm for Sir Charles Mountford. I have seen his hawk and dog both tried. What, clap your hands, or is no bargain?
Yes, and stake them down. Were they 500, they were all my own.
Be stirring early with the lark tomorrow. I'll rise into my saddle ere the sun rise from his bed.
If there you miss me, say I am no gentleman. I'll hold my day.
It holds on all sides. Come, tonight let's dance. Early tomorrow, let's prepare to ride. We'd need to be up 3 hours before the bride.
And exuent. Okay, let's pause, take a breath, and take in some of the things there. I'm going to start with the positives. I did like the prologue. I thought there were some nice things in the prologue. I also quite liked Francis's little thing of sort of looking at all the people dancing and going, "Oh, look at them. Oh, look at all that energy they've got there. Oh, yeah, they can really dance, can't they? Shall we go hunting? Yes. I did quite enjoy that little exchange once the wedding side of things sort of drifted off. So yeah, thoughts from the room. Who wants to leap in? Lynn, muted at present.
Well, tragedy often begins where comedy ends. Comedy ends with a wedding. Tragedy, especially domestic tragedy, either you begin with a wedding or there's a couple gets together early in the plot. So yeah, nothing could go wrong there. So I mean, that's a pretty. If you're familiar with the genre, that's a pretty clear signal to what's happening. But what I find really interesting, and I don't know what to make of in this scene, is the aristocrats talking about going hunting, an aristocratic pastime, and then betting these really kind of exorbitant amounts of money on their hawks and their hounds. Like, is this just supposed to show how sort of wasteful and useless these people are? Like, what's going on with that? Why take time to show that happening?
Well, there may be a plot reason why, but yes, at this stage, that's a good question. Lois.
Yeah, as I understand it, gambling was incredibly rife at this period, and people did gamble enormous sums on very trivial things.
Later in the period, Charles II paid off one of his mistress's gambling debts, which were just huge. So, yeah, I didn't know that had started this early, but yeah.
Sarah.
I mean, it's a way of raising the stakes quite literally as well. I don't know how it's going to go because I haven't read ahead, but like if these characters are actually, if there's tension between them, then this is a good way of, betting huge amounts on trivial things is usually a sign that there's something going on underneath. It's like if there's a lot of animosity between these characters, it's quite a neat way of showing it very early on in the plot. All these people they're all like they're all jostling for position, they're all resenting each other, they're all trying to be the alpha male. It's quite a nice way of setting it up in the scene really early on.
Alexandra.
Yes, I wanted to add to Sarah's point that I think generally this scene does really well at presenting us with a lot of people in a small amount of text and yet establishing their relationships to each other, both familial and emotional. I think it does that really well.
Yeah, and of course we've got some awkward introductions, shall we say, to Anne and the marriage and just the climate of the time. I'm sure none of these things are. I mean, certainly, she would dance the shaking of the sheets is something we've had a number of times. A lot of these things are commonplaces for within the society that we have. I mean, it feel a bit Patient Griselle in that territory at that very beginning, didn't it? Just the way Anne introduced herself and the way Francis picked up on that afterwards as well. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily bode well. Lois.
Yeah, I think there may be some sense that everybody's coming out with the most obvious cliches that everybody always comes out with at weddings. I don't know, the same stupid jokes. I'm not sure if you could play it that way, but it just seems to me that there's a sense of everybody going through the motions almost.
Yeah, I mean, because especially as the way Francis comes across in the rest of the scene as well is just whether it's supposed to be ominous or that's just time has passed by and made it feel worse than it was intended. Briony.
Yeah, just kind of jumping on what Lois said there. I had a feeling during that scene, which I don't know if I've ever got with this early modern stuff ever before, which was just of there being a level of cheesiness to what was being said. It just kind of felt a bit cheesy, something about it. And I don't know if it was that, like, wedding vibe, you know, in the way people say things, like nice things for the sake of saying them, whether they really believe them or not, and then that intermixed with the bad jokes, and yeah, I don't know, something about it.
Mm. And the use of rhyme as well. We have occasional rhyme being thrown in, so there's a sort of odd artificiality to some of it as well, that is interesting. Anyway, let's gather more data. Let's see where it's going. I mean, in terms of exposition, I think to go back to Alexandra's point, it does introduce us to the situation very clearly and very quickly, and introduces us to characters very quickly as well. So, you know, the playwright knows what they're doing, but whether we like what they were doing, we'll find out. Act 1, Scene 2. Enter Nicholas and Jenkin, Jack Slime, Roger Brickbat, with country wenches, Cicely, and 2 or 3 musicians.
Nick, take you, Joan Miniver, to trace withal. Jack Slime, traverse you with Cecily Milkpail. I will take Jane Trubkin, and Roger Brickbat shall have Isabel Motley. And now that they are busy in the parlor, come, strike up. We'll have a crash here in the yard.
My humour is not compendious. Dancing I possess not, though I can foot it. Yet since I am fallen into the hands of Cicely Milkpail, I consent.
Truly, Nick, though we were never brought up like serving courtiers, yet we have been brought up with serving creatures, aye, and God's creatures too. For we have been brought up to serve sheep, oxen, horses, hogs, and such like. And though we be but country fellows, it may be in the way of dancing we can do the horse trick as well as the serving man.
Aye, and the cross point too.
Oh, Slime, oh, Brickbat, do not you know that comparisons are odious? Now we are odious ourselves too. Therefore, there are no comparisons to be made betwixt us.
I am sudden and not superfluous. I am quarrelsome and not seditious. I am peaceable and not contentious. I am brief and not compendious.
Foot it quickly. If the music overcome not my melancholy, I shall quarrel, and if they suddenly do not strike up, I shall presently strike thee down.
No quarreling, for God's sake. Truly, if you do, I shall set a knave between you.
I come to dance, not to quarrel. Come, what shall it be, Rogero?
Rogero, no, we will dance the beginning of the world.
I love no dance so well as John come kiss me now.
I that have ere now deserved a cushion, call for the cushion dance.
For my part, I like nothing so well as Tom Tyler.
No, we'll have the hunting of the fox.
The hay, the hay. There's nothing like the hay.
I've said, I do say, and I will say again.
Every man agree to have it as Nick says?
Content.
It hath been, it now is, and it shall be.
What, Master Nicholas, what?
Put on your smocker Monday.
So the dance will come cleanly off. Come, for God's sake, agree of something. If you like not that, put it to the musicians, or let me speak for all, and we'll have Sellingers round.
That.
No, I am resolved, thus it shall be. First take hands, then take to your heels.
Why, would you have us run away?
No, but I would have you shake your heels. Music, strike up.
They dance. Nicholas, dancing, speaks stately and scurvily, the rest after the country fashion.
Hey, lively, my lasses, here's a turn for thee.
And they exit. Okay, I delight in this scene. I think this is a lovely scene. I think we've all been in that situation of the that scene of insisting what's the bit of music you want put on. Oh, no, we don't want that one. We want that one. No, that one. No, that one. Everyone cried. I think that's delightful. I think there's interesting things about what's physically going on there as well. Nicholas's dancing is different to everybody else's dancing. There's so much there. I quite like. Briony.
So, yeah, no, I just got a bit confused by that stage direction. I didn't realise it was the dancing it was referring to. I still don't really know what stately and scurvily means, but yeah.
I'm sure someone will be able to get. I think I get stately. I'm not sure what scurvily is. I have just double-checked that it's not a typo, if that is what's written. Sarah.
Does anyone know what the cushion dance is?
I don't know. I love the idea of the cushion dance. That was my favourite dance of the lot.
Yeah, me too.
I will have a little look. I've got various editions. I will try and see if there's any reference to the cushion dance.
Where's our ballad lady? She might know.
Yeah.
Eric.
I was just gonna say that aside from enjoying this, I just like how Jack was like, yeah, if you don't pick a song now, I'm gonna start a fight. It's like, what?
Just pick one. It's
like a night out in Glasgow or something.
Yeah, there is an element of just wondering where they're putting their bags. I just want to know. So yeah, okay. That was much more straightforward. Fun times being had. Let's rattle on into the next scene and see if we get more development of plot. Act 1, Scene 3. Wind your horns. Enter Sir Charles Mountfort, Francis Acton, Malby, Cranwell, Wendoll, Falconer, Falconers, and Huntsman.
So, well cast off. Aloft. Well flown. Oh, now she takes her at the souse and strikes her down to the earth like a swift thunderclap.
She hath struck 10 angels out of my way.
£100 from me.
What, Falconer?
At hand, sir.
Now she hath ceased to foul against the plumer. Rebuke her not, rather stand still and check her. So Caesar gets her jesses and her bells away.
My hawk killed too.
Aye, but 'twasn't the care? Quare? I'm not entirely sure. Not at the mount like mine.
Judgment, my masters.
Yours missed her at the fair.
Aye, but our Merlin first had plumed the fowl, and twice renewed her from the river too. Her bells, Sir Francis, had not both one weight, nor was one semi-tune above the other. Methinks these Milan bells do sound too full, and spoil the mounting of your hawk.
Is lost.
I grant it not. Mine likewise seized a fowl within her talons, and you saw her paws full of the feathers. Both her petty singles and her long singles griped her more than other. The terrials of her legs were stained with blood, not of the fowl only. She did discomfit some of her feathers, but she brake away. Come, your hawk is but a rifler.
How?
Aye, and your dogs are trindle tails and curs.
You stir my blood. You keep not one good hound in all your kennel, nor one good hawk upon your perch.
How, knight?
So, knight, you will not swagger, sir.
I say I did.
Why, sir, I say you would gain as much by swaggering as you have got by wages on your dogs. You will come short in all things.
Not in this. Now I'll strike home.
Strikes Sir Charles.
Thou shalt to thy long home, or I will want my will.
All they that love Sir Francis, follow me.
All that affects Sir Charles, draw on my part.
On this side heaves my hand.
Here goes my heart.
And they divide themselves. Sir Charles Montfort, Cranwell, Falconer, and Huntsman fight against Sir Francis Acton, Wendoll, his Falconer and Huntsman, and Sir Charles hath the better and beats them away, killing both of Sir Francis's men, exeunt all but Sir Charles Montfort.
My God, what have I done? What have I done? My rage hath plunged into a sea of blood, in which my soul lies drowned. Poor innocents for whom we are to answer. Well, 'tis done, and I remain the victor. A great conquest when I would give this right hand, nay, this head, to breathe in the new life whom I have slain. Forgive me, God. 'Twas in the heat of blood, and anger quite removes me from myself. It was not I, but rage did this foul murder. Yet I, and not my rage, must answer it. Sir Francis Acton, he is fled the field. With him, all those that did partake his quarrel, and I am left alone with sorrow dumb, and in my height of conquest overcome.
Enter Susan.
Oh God, my brother wounded among the dead. Unhappy jest that in such earnest ends. The rumour of this fear stretched to my ears, and I am come to know if you be wounded.
Oh, sister, wounded at the heart.
My God forbid.
In doing that thing which he forbade, I am wounded, sister.
I hope not at the heart.
Yes, at the heart.
Oh, God. A surgeon there?
Call me a surgeon, sister, for my soul. The sin of murder, it hath pierced my heart and made a wide wound there, but for these scratches, they are nothing, nothing.
Charles, what have you done? Sir Francis hath great friends and will pursue you unto the utmost danger of the law.
Mine conscience has become mine enemy and will pursue me more than Acton can.
Oh, fly, sweet brother.
Shall I fly from thee? I Sue art weary of my company.
Fly from your foe.
You, sister, are my friend, and flying you, I shall pursue my end.
Your company is as my eyeball dear, but being far from you, no comfort can be near. Yet fly to save your life. What would I care to spend my future age in black despair, so you were safe? And yet to live 1 week without my brother Charles, through every cheek my streaming tears would downwards run so rank, till they could set on either side a bank, and in the midst a channel. So my face for 2 saltwater brooks shall still find place.
Thou shalt not weep so much, for I will stay in spite of dangerous teeth. I'll live with thee, or I'll not live at all. I will not sell my country and my father's patrimony, nor thy sweet sight for a vain hope of life.
Enter Sheriff with officers.
Sir Charles, I am made the unwilling instrument of your attach and apprehension. I'm sorry that the blood of innocent men should be of you exacted. It was told me that you were guarded with a troop of friends, and therefore I come thus armed.
Oh, Master Sheriff, I came into the field with many friends, but see, they have all left me. Only one clings to my sad misfortune, my dear sister. I know you for an honest gentleman. I yield my weapons and submit to you. Convey me where you please.
To prison, then, to answer for the lives of these dead men.
Oh, God! Oh, God!
Sweet sister, every strain of sorrow from your heart augments my pain. Your grief abounds and hits against my breast.
Sir, will you go?
Even where it likes you best.
And they exit. So, talking about stakes last time, raising the stakes about money stakes, but we've raised the stakes with murder. 2 associates, 2 men have died. It's a death count so far for the play of 2. They didn't have names, and we don't know who they were. They're just 2 men, I think, unless were they identified? Did I miss that? Briony, then Lynn.
They weren't identified, but I noticed the character I was reading was not mentioned explicitly in the stage directions and is named as one of Francis's friends. So I think Malby might have just died, unless he's... Yeah.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. Let's keep an eye out for that. Lynn.
I just want to keep the relationships straight. So the men that were just killed by Charles were friends, sort of followers of Acton, who is the bride's brother. Is this right?
Yes, I think that's
so.
Right.
That's the attachment. That's the connection to the couple in the beginning. Is like her brother and this guy Charles don't get along. There's a confrontation. So her brother's retainers are killed. So her brother's got a grudge match going.
Yeah, and it does start off with this is one of those shows where you feel that they're going to have birds on long sticks to sort of flirt, to do the throb thing over the heads of the audience to start it off. That's how I'm feeling this opening this because it's sort of in progress, isn't it? And stuff's going on there. Like, kind of acting going on there. Eric,
I'm just wondering if there's meant to be a pun with like pursue me more than Acton can, like Acton, who was pursued by dogs, turned into a stag and pursued. But I don't know if that's Heywood being, or me being sort of, maybe Heywood was being a smartass or not.
He was capable of being a smartass. So that's not impossible. I mean, it's a hell of an Easter egg if it's there. But I like it. Lois.
Yeah, I think if he were doing that, he would make it more obvious. Actaeon, he whom hungry hounds pursue, blah, 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 blah. We'd get more of it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it got cut in previews. Sarah.
I find all the hawk talk really fascinating. I mean, it's not important that I know what's going on, which is just as well because I didn't. But I did find it really fascinating, all the stuff about, semitune and bells and like there's clearly Heywood knows his hawking.
Mhm.
And I don't know if he just put that in. It's so detailed. It's fascinating that it's so detailed, and I don't know if it's just he put that in because he would expect his audience to understand and follow it, or whether it's just a kind of like blah 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 to make the argument build really quickly so that there's an excuse for people to stab each other. But I find it really, really interesting that he goes into it in such detail, and I'm wondering whether a modern day person who does things with birds would kind of be able to follow all this.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the kind of detail that if you were having a fight in a betting shop, you would have someone talking in great details about what the teams are doing and things like that. And it feels like it's the kind of detail that makes the scene work better, even if you don't know what's going on. The actors should probably be, talked through all the details. But otherwise, I'll go to Elizabeth, then Lynn, then Eric, then Alexandra, and then we'll move on.
Rob, I think Lynn was before me, but
it's fine.
Okay, as long as it's okay with her. I really like what Sarah was saying about the detail in the sort of the falconry and the action that's happening, and I think that it kind of draws us in and it kind of builds a sense of narrative. But the word that came to mind to me before the murders was escalate, and Sarah put it in the chat. That escalated quickly, and I was just wondering at this, the speed at which it went from dum-de-dum-de-da to we've killed some people now, and I was just thinking does that change the tone? Has it completely shifted the tone of the piece for anyone else?
It's a good question. It depends on how violent the deaths are staged, and of course it depends on whether they are a speaking character or if they're just random. It's that question in films. If it's a faceless goon with wearing a mask, does one care if they get the shot down by the good people or and that kind of debate going on. By the way, I just want to say, Sarah, Hawk Talk would make a great podcast. Anyway, and here we are for Hawk Talk with Lynn, then Eric, then Alexandra.
It's a great title for a podcast at the very least. So I also wonder about the hawking talk, whether it's just sort of technical stuff, just sort of give a kind of feel of realism or naturalism, or is there a metaphor going on there? The bells actually stand for something that's lost to us at the moment because we don't know enough about what that the significance of that stuff. I just get the sense that he's trying that there's two layers of meaning there, and we aren't reading the second one at the moment.
Eric,
I was just going to talk about the sort of the actual murder part where where Charles is like, well, just done. Sorry, my bad. But it depends how I played that as sort of half commute, whatever, it's done. I remain the victor, but I mean, I kind of it's hard to take it seriously at that moment. Though he does go, it was not I but rage did this foul murder. Yeah, I, but no, my rage must answer it. It's kind of well, it's not entirely my fault, but I got angry, so I have to deal with this. I don't know. It's just sort of hard to take the noble characters seriously at this point, although they did just get in a fight and kill people.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing because, of course, Charles is playing throughout when Susan's coming on. Call me a surgeon, I've been wounded because I have committed murder.
Yeah.
But it's not clear from the stage direction how many people he's personally killed, or in fact, if he's killed, because it says, his side gets the better, beating the others away and killing both Sir Francis' men. It doesn't actually state who kills, because there's 2 dead people. Do we think Charles killed both of them, or did he kill none of them, or did he kill one of them? And there's a whole interesting question about that that I'm not so sure, though the text may actually clarify that. Alexandra, Briony, then Lois, and then we will definitely move on.
Yes, I think it's more dramatic if it is him, or if he, if he's not just feeling responsible, because it also makes sense of the police turning up immediately afterwards, like, well done them. And the other thing I wanted to point out, which I think is really nice structurally, is I put in the chat earlier when we were talking about dances, and now a scene for the benefit of future historians. It's actually really nice that there is so much detail in the names of the dances in the hawk action, and like Lynn was saying, hopefully there are layers in both of those. Hopefully there are reasons and layers that you, even if they weren't intended, you could put in as a production. The structural thing I wanted to point out, which I think is fabulous, is we had the first scene at the wedding ending in, come, tonight let's dance, early tomorrow let's prepare to ride to this hawking business. And then the next scene is the country people dancing, and then the following scene is the hawking. And so you've got fun, horrible, all of a sudden. It's really, I think it's really brilliantly constructed.
Briony, then Lois.
Yeah, I just agree with what people are saying about how the tone is kind of got a bit strange. And I think I agree with Eric, certainly from reading Susan. There's something almost comical, especially at the start of the scene, where they're kind of talking and not really hearing each other. And he says about his heart, and then she's like, not your heart. And he's like, my heart. And she's like, you haven't been hurt in the heart though, have you? And he's like, yes, I have. And there's just something about it that I don't know, I just couldn't take it too seriously. It seems a bit more silly than that.
Lois.
Yeah, I don't know. I take it pretty seriously, but it seems to me that the stage direction there makes it quite clear. It says, and Sir Charles hath the better, and beats them away, killing both of Sir Francis's men.
I'm reading a textual variant, so I don't know if that's the original or that's a later thing. But I'm going to go with half the better is probably the correct one.
Yeah, that's not likely to be a later editorial thing.
No.
Yeah, it just seems to me that, a lot depends on how you do the fight as well, because you could have it start out with everybody thinking it's just kind of fun and then it getting really nasty. But if Sir Charles kills both of Sir Francis's men, sort of beats them away, it almost sounds as if they're ganging up on him. This could be meant to make him look sort of heroic and then be sort of, totally devastated by what he's done.
Yes, if all his men left him, he fights alone, kills the 2 men, and then is left bereft of everybody. That has a certain power to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he says that he had a lot of friends when he came there, and now he doesn't have any.
No, everyone does appear to have buggered off. And is that before he did the murders, or is that because they went, oh my God, there's so much, no, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Both of which are interesting ways of playing the scene. I think there's a lot to be said there. Anyway, we will move on and see what Act 2 has in store for us in terms of action and detail. Act 2, Scene 1, enter Master Frankford in a study.
How happy am I amongst other men that in my mean estate embrace content. I'm a gentleman, and by my birth, companion with a king. Kings no more. I am possessed of many fair revenues, sufficient to maintain a gentleman. Touching my mind, I am studied in all arts. The riches of my thoughts and of my time have been a good proficient. But the chief of all the sweet felicities on earth, I have a fair, a chaste and loving wife, perfection all truth, all ornament. If man on earth may truly happy be, of these at once possessed, sure, I am he.
Enter Nicholas.
Sir, there's a gentleman attends without to speak with you.
On horseback?
Yes, on horseback.
Entreat him to alight. I will attend him. Knowst thou him, Nick?
Know him? Yes, his name's Wendoll. It seems he comes in haste. His horse is booted up to the flank in mire, himself all spotted and stained with plashing. Sure he rid in fear or for a wager. Horse and man both sweat. I ne'er saw two in such a smoking heat.
Entreat him in, about it instantly. This Wendoll I've noted by it, and his carriage hath pleased me much. By observation I've noticed many good deserts in him. He's affable, and seen in many things, discourses well, a good companion, and though of small means, yet a gentleman, of a good house, though somewhat pressed by want. I preferred him to a second place, in my opinion and best regard.
Enter Wendoll, Mistress Anne, Frankford, and Nicholas.
Oh, Master Frankford, Master Wendoll is here, brings you the strangest news that you e'er heard.
What news, sweet wife? What news, good Master Wendoll?
You knew the match made twixt Sir Francis Acton and Sir Charles Mountford?
True, with their hounds and hawks.
The matches were both played.
Ah, and which one?
Sir Francis, your wife's brother, had the worst and lost the wager.
Why, the worst is chance. Perhaps the fortune of some other day will change his luck.
Oh, but you hear not all. Sir Francis lost, and yet was loath to yield. At length the two knights grew to difference, from words to blows, and so to banding sides, where valorous Sir Charles slew in his spleen 2 of your brother's men, his falconer and his good huntsman, whom he loved so well. More men were wounded, no more slain outright.
Now, trust me, I'm sorry for the knight. But is my brother safe?
All whole and sound, his body not being blemished with one wound. But poor Sir Charles is to the prison led, to answer the assize for them that's dead.
I thank your pains, sir. Had the news been better, your will was to have brought it, Master Wendoll. Sir Charles will find hard friends, his case is heinous, and will be most severely censured on. I'm sorry for him. Sir, a word with you. I know you, sir, to be a gentleman in all things, your possibilities but mean. Please you to use my table and my purse. They're yours.
Oh, Lord, sir, I shall ne'er deserve it.
Oh, sir, disparage not your worth too much. You are full of quality and fair desert. Choose of my men which shall attend on you, and here's yours. I will allow you, sir, your man, your gelding, and your table, all, at my own charge. Be my companion.
Master Frankford, I have oft been bound to you by many favours. This exceeds them all, that I shall never merit your least favour. But when your last remembrance I forget, heaven at my soul exact that weighty debt.
There needs no protestation, for I know you, virtuous, therefore grateful. Prithee, Nan, use him with all thy lovingest courtesy.
As far as modesty may well extend, it is my duty to receive your friend.
To dinner. Come, sir, from this present day, welcome to me forever. Come, away!
Exeunt Frankford, Mistress Frankford, and Wendoll.
Do not like this fellow by no means. I never see him, but my heart still yearns. Zoons, I could fight with him, yet know not why. The devil and he are all one in mine eye.
Enter Jenkin.
Oh, Nick, what gentleman is that comes to lie at our house? My master allows him one to wait on him, and I believe it will fall to thy lot.
I love my master by these hilts, I do, but rather than I'll ever come to serve him, I'll turn away my master.
And enter Cicely.
Nicholas! Where are you, Nicholas? You must come in, Nicholas, and help the young gentleman off with his boots.
If I pluck off his boots, I'll eat the spurs, and they shall stick fast in my throat like burrs.
Then, Jenkin, come you.
Nay, 'tis no boot for me to deny it. My master hath given me a coat here, but he takes pains himself to brush it once or twice a day with a holy wand.
Come, make haste, that you may wash your hands again and help to serve in dinner.
You may see, my masters, though it be afternoon with you, 'tis yet but early days with us, for we have not dined yet. Stay but a little. I'll go in and bear up the first course, and come to you again presently.
They exit, going straight into Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Malby and Cranwell.
This is the sessions day. Pray, can you tell me how young Sir Charles hath sped? Is he acquit, or must he try the law's strict penalty?
He's cleared of all, spite of his enemies, whose earnest labour was to take his life. But in this suit of pardon he hath spent all the revenues that his father left him, and he is now turned a plain countryman, reformed in all things. See, sir, he comes.
And enter Sir Charles and his keeper.
Discharge your fees, and you are then at freedom.
Here, Master Keeper, take the poor remainder of all the wealth I have. My heavy foes have made my purse light, but alas, to me, 'tis wealth enough that you have set me free.
God give you joy of your delivery. I am glad to see you abroad, Sir Charles.
The poorest knight in England, Master Malby. My life has cost me all my patrimony my father left his son. Well, God forgive them that are the authors of my penny.
Enter Shafton.
Sir Charles, a hand. At liberty? How? By the faith I owe, I am glad to see it. What want you? Wherein may I pleasure you?
Oh me, O most unhappy gentleman, I am not worthy to have friends stirred up, whose hands may help me in this plunge of want. I would I were in heaven to inherit there the mortal birthright which my Saviour keeps, and by no unthrift can be bought and sold, for here on earth in what pleasures should we trust?
Oh, to rid you from these contemplations, 300 pounds you shall receive of me. Nay, 5 for fail. Come, sir, the sight of gold is the most sweet receipt for melancholy, and will revive your spirits. You shall hold law with your proud adversaries. Tush, I let Frank Acton wage with his knighthood like expense with me, and he will sing, he will. Nay, good Sir Charles, applaud your fortune and your fair escape from all these perils.
Oh, sir, they have undone me. 2,500 pound a year my father at his death possessed me of, all the which envious Acton made me spend. And notwithstanding all this large expense, I had much ado to gain my liberty, and I have now only a house of pleasure with some 500 pounds reserved, both to maintain me and my loving sister.
That must I have. It lies convenient for me. If I can fasten but one finger on him, with my full hand I'll gripe him to the heart. 'Tis not for love I proffered him this coin, but for my gain and pleasure. Come, Sir Charles, I know you have need of money. Take my offer.
Sir, I accept it and remain indebted even to the best of my unable power. Come, gentlemen, and see it tendered down.
And they exit. So we've got again the plot moves quite quickly. I mean, we've got Frankford coming on at the beginning of the act, going, "I am happy." People coming with news. Bad stuff's gone on somewhere else, and then within the shift of a scene, Cranwell is free. He got off the charges, but he is now quite poor, and by poor we mean he only has 500 a year. What can you do? Sarah, then Alan.
500 a year and a house of pleasure.
Yeah.
Do not forget the house of pleasure.
So, I feel, I mean, and then of course that's enough for Shafton to come hovering over like a bird of prey thing. I was going to try and find a better hunting metaphor, but I couldn't think of one. Anyway, Alan.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether House of Pleasure is in the sense of somewhere, a nice place in the country, or a knocking shop in the city.
The former.
The former, yes.
Yes.
Who knows where he built his empire from. Anyway, Lynn.
Going back a little in the scene, I was really struck by Nicholas's prescience about Wendoll. It's like I don't like that guy. He gives me the creeps. He gives me the willies. There's something wrong with him. And you don't usually have that kind of insight attributed to a sort of lower ranking character. So I kind of really liked that just this ordinary serving man who says, yeah, I love my master. I'm a good servant, but I don't like this guy.
We have two scenes back to back with slightly dodgy people coming into the action. I mean, we've met Wendoll, I think, before, but in the sense of something going on there. So that's quite interesting. Lois, then Eric.
Yeah, there's just an odd point at the end of that previous scene, which is that Jenkin, I think, is addressing the audience when he says it's afternoon with you, but we haven't eaten yet, and I'm going to go in and serve the first course, and I'll be back. I mean, surely he must be talking to the audience.
Yes,
it makes sense that way. I couldn't figure out otherwise what. Yeah.
Yeah, especially as odds on they're performing it in the afternoon, so it sort of fits temporally as well. It's a nice lot of in meta joke, and if it's the clown, then the clown can get away with that kind of shtick. Did I go to Alan? I did, didn't
you? Did.
I did. Eric.
I was just going to say that I kind of wish that Helen was here so we could ask her about what was sort of not necessarily the punishments for things that like murder and crime stuff, but then just so we can garner the historical context more. I mean, yeah, he basically killed two people and then got off with by paying people. Which is
I think there's a question about how much money do you need to get access to justice, as it were, and in this case, rather a lot, 2,500, I think, wasn't it, something like that? So yeah, quite a lot of cash. Lynn and Alan.
Yeah, and he says that his enemy, right, that Acton basically extorted that from him. I think it was kind of like, I'll drop the charges if you basically give me all your money. Yeah, sort of regular justice was not even a thing. I mean, they weren't even trying. And even though there were many like what we would consider draconian punishments for like property crime, it was fairly rare for them to be carried out. People got pardoned, or their friends bought them all. Yeah, so the laws that were on the books and the laws that actually got executed, a lot of disconnect there. So
Alexandra, then we'll move on.
I just would like to point out how irrelevant the lower classes are. Like, it's fun that we have some fun with some servants and listen to their prescience, but we also get, your brother-in-law has killed 2 people. Yeah, that's sad for them, but is he okay? What? Like, that's your focus. And then yes, the way in which the conversations happen in preparation for the trial, and then as a result of the trial, it's all about him. There's nothing to do with the importance of these 2 people who have died.
Yes, there doesn't appear to be much in the way of natural justice going on here. Very briefly, Lois.
Well, just that we are told that Sir Francis Acton actually cared about both these people. I mean, that's one reason he's pursued this case. Not only is he a nasty piece of work, but he is trying to avenge a couple of his favorite servants.
Okay, we will see where this goes. Act 2, Scene 3, enter Wendoll, melancholy.
I am a villain, if I apprehend but such a thought. Then to attempt the deed, slave, thou art damned without redemption. I'll drive away this passion with a song, ha ha, a song. As if, fond man, thy eyes could swim in laughter when thy soul lies drenched and drowned in red tears of blood. I'll pray and see if God within my heart plant better thoughts. Why, prayers are meditations, and when I meditate, oh God, forgive me, it is on her divine perfections. I will forget her. I will arm myself, not to entertain a thought of love to her. And when I come by chance into her presence, I'll hail these balls until my eye strings crack from being pulled and drawn to look that way.
Enter over the stage Frankford, Anne, his wife, and Nicholas, and exit.
Oh God, oh God! With what a violence I'm hurried to mine own destruction. There goest thou, the most perfectest man that ever England bred a gentleman. And shall I wrong his bed? Thou God of thunder, stay in thy thoughts of vengeance and wrath, thy great almighty and all-judging hand from speedy execution on a villain and a traitor to his friend.
Enter Jenkin.
Did your worship call?
He doth maintain me. He allows me largely money to spend.
By my faith, so do not you me. I cannot get a cross of you.
My gelding and my man.
That's Sorrel and I.
This kindness grows of no alliance twixt us.
Nor is my servants of any great acquaintance.
I never bound him to me by desert. Of a mere stranger, a poor gentleman, a man by whom in no kind he could gain, he hath placed me in the height of all his thoughts, made me companion with the best and chiefest in Yorkshire. He cannot eat without me, nor laugh without me. I am to his body as necessary as his digestion, and equally do make him whole or sick. And shall I wrong this man? Base man, ingrate, hast thou the power, straight with thy gory hands, to rip thy image from his bleeding heart, to scratch thy name from out the holy book of his remembrance, and to wound his name that holds thy name so dear? Or rend his heart to whom thy heart was knit and joined together? And yet I must. Then, Wendoll, be content. Thus villains, when they would, cannot repent.
What a strange humour is my new master in. Pray God he be not mad. If he should be so, I would never have any mind to serve him in Bedlam. It may be he's mad for missing me.
What, Jenkin? Where's your mistress?
Is your worship married?
Why dost thou ask?
Because you are my master, and if I have a mistress, I would be glad, like a good servant, to do my duty to her.
I mean Mistress Frankford.
Marry, sir, her husband is riding out of town, and she went lovingly to bring him on his way to horse. Did you see, sir? Here she comes, and here I go.
Vanish.
Exit Jenkins, enter Mistress Anne.
You are well met, sir. Now, in truth, my husband, before he took horse, had a great desire to speak with you. We sought about the house, hallooed into the fields, sent every way, but could not meet you. Therefore he enjoined me to do unto you his most kind commends. Nay more, he wills you, as you prize his love or hold in estimation his kind friendship, to make bold in his absence, and command even as himself were present in the house. For you must keep his table, use his servants, and to be a present Frankford in his absence.
I thank him for his love. Give me a name, you, whose infectious tongues are tipped with gall and poison, as you would think on a man that had your father slain, murdered your children, made your wives base strumpets. So call me so. Print in my face the most stigmatic title of a villain, for hatching treason to so true a friend.
Sir, you are much beholding to my husband. You are a man most dear in his regard.
I am bound unto your husband, and you too. I will not speak to wrong a gentleman of that good estimation, my kind friend. I will not, zounds, I will not. I may choose, and I will choose. Shall I be so misled, or shall I purchase to my father's crest, the motto of a villain? If I say I will not do it, what thing can enforce me? What can compel me? What sad destiny hath such command upon my yielding thoughts? I will not. Ha! Some fury pricks me on. The swift fates drag me at their chariot wheel and hurry me to mischief. Speak I must, injure myself, wrong her, deceive his trust.
Are you not well, sir, that you seem thus troubled? There is sedition in your countenance.
And in my heart, fair angel, chaste and wise, I love you. Start not, speak not, answer not, I love you. Nay, let me speak the rest. Bid me to swear, and I will call to record the host of heaven.
The host of heaven forbid Wendoll should hatch such a disloyal thought.
Such is my fate. To this suit was I born, to wear rich pleasure's crown or fortune's scorn.
My husband loves you.
I know it.
He esteems you, even as his brain, his eyeball, or his heart.
I've tried it.
His purse is your exchequer, and his table doth freely serve you.
So I have found it.
Oh, with what face of brass, what brow of steel can you, unblushing, speak this to the face of the espoused wife of so dear a friend? It is my husband that maintains your state. Will you dishonour him, that in your power hath left his whole affairs? I am his wife. It is to me you speak.
Oh, speak no more, for more than this I know, and have recorded within the red-leaved table of my heart. Fair and of all beloved, I was not fearful bluntly to give my life into your hand, and one hazard all my earthly means. Go, tell your husband, he will turn me off, and I am then undone. I care not, 'Twas for your sake. Perchance in rage you'll kill me. I care not, 'twas for you. Say I incur the general name of villain through the world, of traitor to my friend. I care not, Beggary, shame, death, scandal, and reproach. For you I'll hazard all. Why? What care I? For you I'll live, and in your love I'll die.
You move me, sir, to passion and to pity. The love I bear my husband is as precious as my soul's health.
I love your husband too, and for his love I will engage my life. Mistake me not, the augmentation of my sincere affection born to you doth no whit lessen my regard to him. I will be secret, lady, close as night, and not the light of one's more glorious star shall shine here in my forehead to bewray that act of night.
What shall I say? My soul is wandering, hath lost her way. Oh, Master Wendoll, oh!
Sigh not, sweet saint, for every sigh you breathe draws from my heart a drop of blood.
I ne'er offended yet. My fault, I fear, will in my brow be writ. Women that fall, not quite bereft of grace, have their offences noted in their face. I blush and am ashamed. Oh, Master Wendoll, pray God I be not born to curse your tongue that hath enchanted me. This maze I am in, I fear will prove the labyrinth of sin.
Enter Nicholas.
The path of pleasure and the gate to bliss, which on your lips I knock at with a kiss.
I'll kill the rogue.
Your husband is from home, your bed's no blab. Nay, look not down and blush.
Exeunt Wendoll and Mistress Frankford.
Zoons, I'll stab. Aye, Nick, was it thy chance to come just in the nick? I love my master, and I hate that slave. I love my mistress, but these tricks I like not. My master shall not pocket up this wrong. I'll eat my fingers first. What sayest thou, Metal? Does not that rascal Wendoll go on legs that thou must cut off? Hath he not hamstrings that thou must huff? Nay, Metal, thou shalt stand to all I say. I'll henceforth turn a spy, and watch them in their close conveyances. I never looked for a better of that rascal, since he came miking first into our house. It is that Satan hath corrupted her, for she was fair and chaste. I'll have an eye in all their gestures. Thus I think of them. If they proceed as they have done before, Wendoll's a knave, and my mistress is a...
Exit. End of Act 2. Wendoll, who we had this discussion earlier of, he's a wrong 'un. He's a wrong 'un, he is. And he discusses at great length, shall he be a wrong 'un or not? Yeah, he'll be a wrong 'un, and goes in for a wooing of Anne. Sarah, how convincing did you find his wooing then?
Well, I can only think that you'd need the actor who played Wendoll to play him very much as a sort of as a rake. You'd have to play him as an out and out rake, a real lady killer, I think. I mean, it was reminding me that scene of Dangerous Liaisons, you know, Valmont and what's her name, Madame de Tourvel, because it made no sense really. But if she is attracted to him, if he's kind of, you know, sexy as all, then maybe that would give her a reason to at least kind of, you know, waver slightly, because she literally goes from being like, oh, you're my husband's friend, lovely, come on in, to like, oh my God, he's hitting on me, this is terrible, to like, oh, actually, maybe I quite like this. Like literally in 3 lines. So I can only think that you've got to set it a bit like I was saying earlier about the, you know, how the betting was kind of setting up the animosity between the guys, as it then turned out that actually led to killing. I can only think that you've got to make him, you've got to give him a bit of swagger, and you've got to make him a bit of a rake, a bit of a Valmont, in order to explain why she becomes the foul. They were talking about the hawks and the fowls earlier. She is literally the foul in this situation. She is just like, he's got his claws in her, and she's like, I think that's the only way you could play it to make it make sense. Maybe.
Lois, then Briony, then Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine the audience couldn't have any sympathy at all for Anne unless Wendoll was somehow attractive enough to be plausible. But I think part of it is, I mean, what makes him really despicable, I think, is that whole speech about, oh, go ahead, tell your husband, so he'll turn me out, I'll be destitute, my life will be ruined. I don't care, because it's all for you, you know, it's all your fault if all these things happen, you know, because you don't give in to me. I mean, this is disgusting, but if somehow or other this could convince her, I don't know, you know, this sense that this poor man, how pathetic, how completely ruined he is, I don't know, the Byronic hero or something. I don't know. I mean, it is pretty implausible, but I don't know how far one has to make it plausible, except that if you don't, then Anne really does become an idiot.
Yeah, I think the scene is makeable, but I think everyone's right. There does seem to be a sense of that it's not quite there, is it? Briony, then Eric, then Lynn, then we will move on. Oh no, then Elizabeth, then we'll move on.
I just really want to talk about this, like, cut off tease rhyme at the end. Like, has anyone else ever seen this before? This is the first time, the earliest I've ever seen that kind of thing done. Is it something that was done much around this time? Does anyone know?
Yeah, there are some other examples. I mean, I can think of one in Middleton's Chaste Maid and Cheapside. That's a bit later than this, but I'm sure I could probably find one in an earlier play if I put my mind to it.
Yes, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's something telling me that there is, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. Eric, then Lynn, then Elizabeth.
I was just going to bring our attention. Well, basically, I was going to say that if you play as Wendoll and Anne being alone on stage and she's cornered, then she I mean, considering, you know, being alone with a predatory male would be quite terrifying for a woman, even sort of, you know, going, you know, she could just be saying sort of anything to get him out of the way, kind of thing, agreeing with him because there's no other option, depending on how you want to play it. I mean, it depends how much you want to redeem Anne in this scene. And also, I just wanted to flag up sort of, I'll eat my fingers first, which was quite irrelevant, but I just love Nicholas's lines about, you know, I'll eat my fingers first, what sayest thou, metal? Does not that rascal Wendoll go on legs that thou must cut off? Yeah, it just, I know, it's like sort of Nicholas going suddenly completely faithful to his master as well.
Lynn, then Elizabeth.
Yeah, Nicholas is great. So what I was going to say is, if I were directing this, I would in fact cast Wendoll as someone just sort of supernaturally charming and charismatic and attractive, and play it so that Frankford is in love with him too. He's either bisexual or closeted, and he's basically in love with this guy too. I mean, it would help kind of justify his extreme generosity to this person who, by his own confession, has no familial connection to him. So he's just irresistible and kind of has dined out on his irresistibility all his life.
Elizabeth.
Yeah, I find that so interesting. Sarah was saying that she'd sort of have Wendoll played as a rake, and I got a strange sense from reading him that he's in love with himself. That he doesn't really care about Frankfurt or Anne. He doesn't even really, when he says I love you, it just comes out of the blue. It's like, suddenly I love you. He's in love with himself, and he's like really narcissistic and just really like just self-involved. That's the kind of energy I was getting from him.
Yeah, anyone who enters melancholy, one feels that there's something, me, about it. Sarah, very briefly.
Yeah, just to back up what Elizabeth was saying, one thing I found quite entertaining in that scene as I was reading it was at the beginning, he was just like, shall I seduce her? Oh no, he's my friend, maybe I shouldn't. It never occurred to him for 1 second that she might not be into him.
Okay, let's move on to Act 3. Act 3, Scene 1. Enter Sir Charles, Montfort, and Susan.
Sister, you see we are driven to hard shifts to keep this poor house we have left unsold. I'm now enforced to follow husbandry and you to milk. And do we not live well? Well, I thank God.
Oh, brother, here's a change. Since old Sir Charles died in our father's house.
All things on earth thus change, some up, some down. Content's a kingdom, and I wear that crown.
Enter Shafton with a sergeant.
Good morrow, Sir Charles. What, with your sister plying your husbandry? Sergeant, stand off. You have a pretty house here, and a garden, and goodly ground about it. Since it lies so near a lordship that I lately bought, I would fain buy it of you. I will give you...
Oh, pardon me, this house successively hath belonged to me and my progenitors 300 years. My great-great-grandfather, he in whom first our gentle style began, dwelt here, and in this ground increased this molehill unto that mountain which my father left me, where he the first of all our house began. I now the last will end and keep this house, this virgin title never yet deflowered by any unthrift of the Mountfords line. In brief, I will not sell it for more gold than you could hide or pave the ground withal.
A proud mind and a beggar's purse. Where is my 300 pounds, besides the use? I've brought it to an execution by course of law. Is my money ready?
An execution, sir. Never tell me you put my bond in suit. You deal extremely.
Sell me the land, and I'll acquit you straight.
Alas, this old trouble hath left me to cherish me and my poor sister's life. If this were sold, our names should then be quite raised from the beadroll of gentility. You see what hard shift we have made to keep it allied still to our name. This palm, you see, labor hath glowed within. Her silver brow hath that never tasted a rough winter's blast. Without a mask or fan, doth with grace defy cold winter and his storm surf outfits.
Sir, we feed sparing and we labour hard. We lie uneasy to reserve to us and our succession this small spot of ground.
I have so bent my thoughts to husbandry that I protest I scarcely can remember what a new fashion is, how silk or satin feels in my hand. Why, pride has grown to us a mere stranger. I have quite forgot the names of all that ever waited on me. I cannot name ye any of my hounds, once from whose echoing mouths I heard all music that e'er my heart desired. What should I say? To keep this place, I have changed myself away.
Arrest him at my suit. Actions and actions shall keep thee in perpetual bondage fast. Nay, more, I'll sue thee by a late appeal and call thy former life in question. The keeper is my friend. Thou shalt have irons and usage such as I deny to dogs. Away with him.
You are too timorous, but trouble is my master, and I will serve him truly. My kind sister, thy tears are of no use to mollify the flinty man. Go to my father's brother, my kinsmen and allies, entreat them for me to transform me from this injurious man that seeks my ruin.
Come, irons, come away. I'll see thee lodged far from the sight of day.
Exeunt except for Susan.
My heart so hardened with the frost of grief, death cannot pierce it through. Tyrant too fell, so lead the fiends contemned souls to hell.
Enter Sir Francis Acton and Malby.
Again to prison. Malby, hast thou seen a poor slave better tortured? Shall we hear the music of his voice cry from the gate, meat for the Lord's sake? No, yet I am not thoroughly revenged. They say he hath a pretty wench unto his sister. Shall I, in mercy's sake to him and to his kindred, bribe the fool to shame herself by lewd, dishonest lust? I'll proffer largely, but the deed being done, I'll smile to see her base confusion.
Methinks, Sir Francis, you are full revenged for greater wrongs than he can proffer you. See where the poor sad gentlewoman stands.
Now will I flout her poverty, deride her fortunes, scoff her base estate? My very soul the name of Mountfort hates. But stay, my heart. Oh, what a look did fly to strike my soul through with thy piercing eye. I am enchanted. All my spirits are fled, and with one glance my envious spleen struck dead.
Acton, that seeks our blood.
Runs away.
Oh, chaste and fair.
Sir Francis? Why, Sir Francis? Zounds, in a trance? Sir Francis, what cheer, man? Come, how is't?
What, was she not fair? Or else this judging eye cannot distinguish beauty.
She was fair.
She was an angel in a mortal's shape, and ne'er descended from old Mountfort's line. But soft, let me call my wits together. A poor wench, to my great adversary's sister, whose very souls denounce stern war one against other. How now, Frank, turned fool or madman? Whither? But no, master of my perfect senses and directest wits. Then why should I be in this violent humor of passion and of love, and with a person so different every way, and so opposed in all contractions, aye, and still warring actions? Fie, how I dispute against my soul. Come, I'll gain her, or in her fair quest, purchase my soul free and immortal rest.
And exeunt. So we have another scene where a character comes on and says, you know what, we're doing okay, we're quite happy really, aren't we? Look, okay, we just have the house and we're going to have to just do some farming, but it's quite fun, isn't it? You enjoy milking cows, don't you? Yeah, it's great. Where's my money? I arrest you. I want the house. Give me the house. But it's all we got. Give me the house. And then immediately Francis Acton comes in and just goes, yeah, right, really screwing them now. What else? No, it's not enough. What else can I do? Let's do something really horrible to the sister as well. And then he goes, ba-dong! Oh, I know I'm in love. So this play it's just constantly just going back and forth in terms of expectation of where we are. So yeah, it's doing all sorts of things. Alan, then Sarah.
I'm not sure I would actually agree with you in that interpretation, because I think the action with Shafton, the moneylender, and Acton are separate pieces of action. I'm not sure that the two are actually working in
I didn't say that. I did not mean to infer that they were working together. He just comes on and goes, "Great!"
Yeah.
He's being dragged away. It's fabulous. Yeah, no, he's just enjoying it. He's though you could build a connection between the two. That might be an interesting thing. See where the play goes. Sarah.
There are so many themes coming out in this play that I think would really resonate with a modern audience. I mean, just in that scene alone, we had, payday moneylenders effectively calling in their debts, like basically lending you money when you're really up against it and then shafting you for everything, literally. He's called Shafton. I mean, so that's a plot line that could resonate with a contemporary audience, depending on how you staged it. You then had like massive amounts of trolling. I mean, like just Acton seeing him being dragged off and just really enjoying it, and then also deciding, oh, I'm now going to go after the sister. Just to get my revenge, just to make myself feel good. I'm gonna go after the sister now. I mean, there's all kinds of parallels with modern life in that. And then, of course, you have the whole like, oh wait, but she's beautiful. I love her. And that whole issue of consent and the fact that the minute a man finds a woman attractive, she of course becomes his. There's all kinds of like really interesting things I think you could do with these themes, and this is so adaptable for a modern audience, I think.
Yeah, and this figure of Shafton as someone who's looking out for ways of using the law against people and manipulating situations like this. There's a reasonable amount in literature of the time that's coming out about this kind of figure, this kind of person who's basically on the borderline between being a moneylender, but also borderline between being just a con man, and that the way that works. And yeah, there's more on that one day we will get to. Anyway, we need to move on. We got one more scene to read this session. Act 3, Scene 2. These are all modern numbers, by the way. You could just do a running scene count, but I haven't bothered to do one yet. Maybe next time I'll confuse you by using different number systems. But yeah, different editions have split it up in different ways. But we're sticking on this one. It's fine. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter 3 or 4 serving men, depending on your budget. One with a voider and a wooden knife to take away all, another the salt and bread, another with the tablecloth and napkins, another ? With the carpet. Jenkin with 2 lights after them, Spigot, the butler, and Nicholas.
So, march in order and retire in battle array. My master and his guests have supped already, all's taken away. Here now spread for the serving men in the hall. Butler, it belongs to your office.
I know it. Jenkin, what do you call the gentleman that supped here tonight?
Who? My master?
No. Master Wendoll he's a daily guest. I mean the gentleman that came but this afternoon.
Oh, his name is Master Cranwell. God's light. Hark within there, my master calls to lay more billets upon the fire. Come. Lord, how we that are in office here in the house are troubled. One spread the carpet in the parlor and stand ready to snuff the lights. The rest be ready to prepare our stomachs. More light in the hall there. Come, Nicholas.
Exuberant all but Nicholas.
I cannot eat, but I had Wendoll's heart, I would eat that. The rogue grows impudent. Oh, I have seen such vile, notorious tricks, ready to make my eyes dart from my head. I'll tell my master. By this air I will. Fall what may fall, I'll tell him. Here he comes.
Enter Master Frankford, as it were brushing the crumbs from his clothes with a napkin, as a newly risen from supper.
Nicholas, what makes you here? Are you not at supper in the hall among your fellows?
Master, I stayed your rising from the board to speak with you.
Be brief then, gentle Nicholas. My wife and guests attend me in the parlour. What is that pause? Now, Nicholas, you want money, and unthrift-like would eat into your wages, eh, you learned it? Here, sirs, £half-a-crown. Play the good husband, and away to supper.
By this hand, an honourable gentleman. I will not see him wronged. Sir, I have served you long. You entertained me 7 years before your bread. You knew me, sir, before you knew my mistress.
What of this, good Nicholas?
I never was a mate or a knave. I have no fault but one. I'm given to quarrel, but not with women. I will tell you, master, that which will make your heart leap from your breast, your hair to startle from your head, your ears to tingle.
What preparation's this to dismal news?
Blood, sir, I love you better than your wife. I'll make it good.
You're a knave, and I've much ado with wonted patience to contain my rage, and not break thy pate. Thou art a knave. I'll turn you, with your base companions, out of my doors.
Do. There is not room for Wendoll and me too, both in one house. Oh, master, that Wendoll is a villain.
Aye, saucy.
Strike, do strike. Yet hear me, I am no fool. I know a villain when I see him act. Deeds of a villain. Master, the base slave enjoys my mistress and dishonours you.
Thou'st killed me with a weapon whose sharp point hath pricked quite through my shivering heart. Drops of cold sweat sit dangling on my hairs, like morning dew upon the golden flowers. I am plunged into strange agonies. What did thou say? If any word that touched his credit or her reputation, it is hard to enter my belief as divers into heaven.
I can gain nothing. There are two that never wronged me. They are two that never wronged me. I knew before 'twas but a thankless office, and perhaps as much as is my service or my life is worth. All this I know, but this and more by 1,000 dangers, could not hire me to smother such a heinous wrong from you. I saw and I have said.
Tis probable, though blunt, yet he is honest. I durst pawn my life, and on their faith hazard the dear salvation of my soul. Yet in my trust I may be too secure. May this be true? Oh, may it? Can it be? Is it by any wonder possible? Man, woman, what thing mortal can we trust, when friends and but wives prove so unjust? What instance hast thou this strange report?
Eyes, master, eyes.
Thy eyes may be deceived, I tell thee. For should an angel from the heavens drop down and preach this to me that thyself hath told, he should have had much ado to win belief. In both their loves I am so confident.
Shall I discourse the same by circumstance?
No more. To supper, and command your fellows to attend us and the strangers. Not a word, I charge thee, on thy life. Be secret then, for I know nothing.
I am dumb, and now that I have eased my stomach, I will go fill my stomach.
Exit
Away.
Nicholas.
Away, begone. She's well born, descended nobly. Virtuous her education, her repute is in the general voice of all the country. Honest and fair, her carriage, her demeanour, in all her actions that concern the love, to me, her husband, modest, chaste, and godly. Is all this seeming gold plain copper? He, that Judith that hath borne my purse, hath sold me for a sin. Oh God, shall I put up these wrongs? How shall I trust the bare report of this suspicious groom before the double guilt, the well-hatched awe of their two hearts? I will lose these thoughts, Distraction I will banish from my brow, and from my looks exile sad discontent. Their wonted favours in my tongue shall flow, till I know all, I'll nothing seem to know. Lights on the table there, wife, Master Wendoll, and gentle Master Cranwell.
Enter Mistress Anne Frankford, Master Wendoll, Master Cranwell, Nicholas and Jenkin with cards, carpets, stools and other necessaries not brought on previously.
Oh, Master Cranwell, you're a stranger here, and often balk my house, faith. Get churl. Now we've supped, a table and to cards.
A pair of cards, Nicholas, and a carpet to cover the table. Where is Cicely with her counters and her box? Candles and candlesticks there. Fie, we have such a household of serving creatures. Unless it be Nick and I, there's not one amongst them that can say boo to a goose. Well said, Nick.
And they spread a carpet, set down lights and cards.
Come, Mr. Frankford. Who shall take my part?
Marry, that will I, sweet wife.
No, by my faith, when you are together, I sit out. It must be Mistress Frankford and I, or else it is no match.
I do not like that match.
You have no reason, marry, knowing all.
Yes, no great matter neither. Come, Master Cranwell, shall you and I take them up?
At your pleasure, sir.
I must look to you, Master Wendoll, for you'll be playing false. Nay, so will my wife too.
Aye, I will be sworn she will.
Them that are taken playing false forfeit the set.
Content. Shall go hard, but I'll take you.
Gentlemen, what shall our game be?
Master Frankford, you play best at Noddy.
You shall not find it so. Indeed you shall not.
I can play at nothing so well as double ruff.
If Master Wendoll and my wife be together, there's no playing against them at double hand.
I can tell you, sir, the game that Master Wendoll is best at.
What game is that, Nick?
Marry, sir, knave out of doors.
She and I will take you at Lodom.
Husband, shall we play at Saint?
My saints turn devil. No, well, none of saints. You're best at Newcut, wife. You'll play at that.
If you play at Newcut, I'm soonest hitter of any here for a wager.
It is me they play on. Well, you may draw out. For all your cunning, 'twill be to your shame. I'll teach you at your Newcut a new game. Come, come.
If you cannot agree upon the game, to post and pair.
We shall be soonest pairs, and my good host, when he comes late home, he must kiss the post.
Whoever wins, it shall be to thy cost.
But faith, let it be wild rough, and let's make honours.
If you make honours, one thing let me crave. Honour the king and queen, except the knave.
Well, as you please for that. Lift, who shall deal?
The least in sight. What are you, Master Wendoll?
I am a knave.
I'll swear it.
I a queen.
Queen, thou shouldst say. Well, the cards are mine. They're the grossest pair that e'er I felt.
Shuffle, I'll cut. But I had never dealt.
I have lost my dealing.
Sir, the fault's in me. This queen I have more than mine own, you see. Give me the stock.
My mind's not on my game. Many a deal I've lost. The more's your shame. You have served me a bad trick, Master Wendoll.
Sir, you must take your lot. To end this strife, I know I have dealt better with your wife.
Thou hast dealt falsely then.
What's trumps?
Hearts, partner I rub.
Thou robb'st me of my soul, of her chaste love. In thy false dealing thou hast robbed my heart. Booty you play, I like a loser stand, having no heart or here or in my hand. I will give her the set. I am not well. Come, who will hold my cards?
Not well, sweet Master Frankford. Alas, what ails you? 'Tis some sudden qualm.
How long have you been so, Master Frankford?
Sir, I was lusty and I had my health, but I grew ill when you began to deal. Take ends this table. Gentle Master Cranwell, you're welcome. See your chamber at your pleasure. I'm sorry that this megrim takes me so. Cannot sit and bear you company. Jenkin, some lights, and show him to his chamber.
A nightgown for my husband. Quickly there. It is some room all cold.
Now, in good faith, this illness you have got by sitting late without your gown.
I know it, Master Wendoll. Go to bed, lest you complain like me. Wife, pretty wife, into my bedchamber. The night is raw and cold and rheumatic. Leave me my gown and light. I'll walk away my fit.
Sweet sir, good night.
Myself, good night.
Exit Wendoll.
Will I attend you, husband?
No, gentle wife, thou'lt catch cold in thy head. Pretty begone, sweet. I'll make haste to bed.
No sleep will fasten on my eyes, you know, until you come.
Exit Anne.
Sweet Nan, I prithee go. I bethought me, get me by degrees the keys of all my doors, which I will mould in wax and take their fair impression, to have by them new keys. This being compassed, at a set hour, a letter shall be brought me. And when they think they may securely play, they nearest are to danger. Nick, I must rely upon thy trust and faithful secrecy.
Build on my faith.
To bed then, not to rest. Care lodges in my brain, grief in my breast.
And they exit. Wow, there's a dangerous card game if ever we saw one. I think my favourite line in all of that is Anne just going, "What's trumps?" As the conversation gets really quite heated between Wendoll and Frankford, where, you know, because of course the game here is, of course, you know, how much of he knows I know he knows that I know, and how much civility is going on through gritted teeth, and at what point is someone actually going to say what they actually mean without using code. And yeah, that what's trumps just seems to be a very deliberate, shall we just not do this now quality to it. Alan, then Alexandra.
An interesting echo in some ways with the scene with the servants earlier in the country dancing.
But also to a degree with the kite and all. There's an awful lot of people discussing other things in a way that integrates with things. So it's an interesting feature for the play overall. I wonder if it will continue. I hope it does, because I'm liking it. Alexandra, then Lynn.
Yes, I really love that, even if it's not necessarily intended that way, but clearly here it is, you can make these conversations mean things in code that the audience can understand and therefore feel very kind of involved in and also very clever about. And I think with this particular scene, it's especially interesting if it happens as you described it, Rob, where you start off with people knowing things and not knowing how much other people know things, and it goes from talking about the stuff I know to talking to the other person to gauging how much they know to, oh gosh, we're in trouble, and having an entire, you know, sort of it's not, the conflict doesn't play out, but it has every chance of just about spilling into that becoming the conversation, and I think it makes it wonderful.
Bernard Shaw does a similar thing in a play You Never Can Tell, where there's one wonderful scene where everyone's about to explode, but someone always delivers the next course just in time to stop everyone attacking each other. Lynn, then Elizabeth, then Lois.
Yeah, this scene really makes me think that the conversation with all the technicalities about hawking also had some kind of undercurrent of punning and double entendre, because, you know, there's so much of that going on here. Like the Wendoll says, I'm a knave, or I'm a knave, and the servant goes, yeah, you are. and the word queen comes up a couple of times, which is an early modern word for wench, at least, but whore also, and cut. So yeah, there's all this, what I had never dealt, what I had never like given away, what I've given away. So yeah, this whole talk about cards is also talk about infidelity. So I think maybe the Hawk and Bells thing must also be function in this way.
Elizabeth and Lois.
Yeah, I just thought this was just a technically brilliant scene. I just wanted to watch it. I didn't want to say anything. I just wanted to watch it kind of play out. It reminded me of that BBC show Hustle, which was all about hustling and tricking people into money, running games and people. And I just loved the technicality of the card games, the specific ones that they were talking about, and how that turned into this sort of intertextuality, this subtext of the infidelity that Lynn was saying. And I just thought it was really dynamic. There was something about this scene that kind of made you really want to watch. And I thought that this was just a brilliant scene for actors to kind of like show their chops.
I mean, I have to say, I felt that throughout most of the play, with some ebbs and flows, that technically this is structured very nicely. There's an awful lot that's really nicely put together. Even if sometimes we're going, okay, the actor might need to turn that corner a bit more than the writing does, but it's giving everyone action. It's giving people stuff to do, and also, of course, the top of the scene, we've had Nicholas having to tell Frankford the news. And of course, Nicholas doesn't want to tell. He's obviously left it a while for the beginning of the scene. He's obviously actually hasn't directly gone and told his master. He's now and he sort of obfuscates and then he blurts it out. And then it's just because it's a very playable scene that then leads to a bigger, more wider, expansive scene. Lois then Sarah.
Yeah, I think, it's actually quite dangerous, as Nicholas realizes, to tell his master. And I think his master either strikes him or threatens him. I mean, he's got the line, strike, do, and then as far as workshopping the card scene, that really, I don't know if this is the first example, but I think it might be of what became really a cliche. The scene where people are playing a game and there are double meanings, because if anybody knows the real Inspector Hound, it's got a hilarious parody of this where the characters refer to every conceivable game. The whole thing becomes completely lunatic. I doubt that Stoppard is parodying this. I think he's parodying earlier or later examples of the same kind of thing. But I think it'd be fascinating to work out just how far, Frankford really can't let them know that he knows, because he wants to trap them, I take it. Let them go on thinking that no one knows anything. And I would guess that at the beginning, Anne and Wendoll are in this sort of state. It's sort of like what Nicholas has said. It's been so obvious that he's disgusted by it. And they're probably in that kind of euphoric state where they think nobody knows what they're doing, or at least Wendoll probably does. So they can be really blatant. And then perhaps as the scene goes on, they become rather uneasy as to whether Frankfurt's words do have double meanings. Anyway, it'd be quite fun to show the different gradations in that.
And also just the straightforward technical problem of how do you play a card game on stage that looks plausibly like a card game that's in progress, which of course requires cards that you need to make sure the cards vaguely deal in a way that matches the dialogue. I think the dialogue is opaque enough for it not really to matter, but it's always one of those technical details of making sure that it flows in a way and that people look like they know how to play the game that they're supposed to be playing, because there's nothing worse than people just going da-da, and it's being all flat and nonsensical. Games have rules, people. Sarah.
Just briefly to pick up on what Lois was saying. Wendoll might be euphoric, but I don't think you can play the scene that Anne is. There's a temptation when you look at it on the page to say, "Oh, she's completely oblivious," but I think I think that's a disservice to her character, because there's that line that Wendoll has right at the beginning when they first start playing, "No, by my faith, when you are together, I sit out. It must be Mistress Frankfurt and I, or else it is no match." That line, the fact that he says that in front of her husband, that is gonna make her massively uneasy. Whether she's regretting what she's done or whether she isn't, depends how you play her earlier in the previous scene, really. But that is gonna just, the fact that he says that in front of her husband, it's a very cruel thing to do to her. And I think you have to play her as as then kind of just massively uneasy all the way through this. You know, she does know what's going on, and that raises the stakes of the scene. Anyway, that's just a personal thing.
Right.
But what I wanted to pick, sorry.
Yeah, no, just come back to you in a second. Just on the way that Anne is actually very attentive to her husband throughout this.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a lot of guilt.
She's watching.
And a lot of making sure
Yeah.
that it, you know, that's at play there.
Yeah, I think so. I that's certainly how I interpreted it. I want to come on to Nicholas, because I really like Lynn's thought earlier about Frankford having the hots for Wendoll. The fact that, you know, if Wendoll is this kind of very attractive, rakish, charming character, that Frankford is actually crushing on him quite significantly. I really like that idea. And then this scene with Nicholas, I just thought, oh man, yeah, if Frankfurt is kind of, if he is really like crushing on Wendoll, and if Nicholas is in love with his master, if he is in love with Frankfurt, then that immediately makes Nicholas into a really interesting character. He's not just a servant. You know, Lynn was saying earlier about, a servant who has prescience, that's rare. Actually makes him into a really good three-dimensional character, because then it's like he has a reason to hate Wendoll. If he knows his master, you know, is attracted to Wendoll and he is attracted to his master, then there's that jealous thing straight away. Oh, I don't like him. And then it also really raises the stakes for this scene when he tells him what's going on, because you know, he does say, "Oh, I love my master," and it's okay. You don't have to read it that way, but it certainly makes the scene, like the fact that he can't spit it out, and the fact that he dances all around the houses about it. It really raises the stakes and makes it very dramatically interesting, I think.
Right, okay, we are into extra time, so time for final thoughts around the room. Elizabeth, final thoughts about the play so far, halfway through.
Halfway through, I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I've said this halfway through before, so I'm getting a bit of deja vu here. But I do like Wendoll's character. I think he's very complex, but then also I like a lot of the other characters. I like Frankfurt, I like Anne, I like the way this play is doing things. Like, it's always doing something, whether it's with the subtext or with the use of puns. I like the way it's always kind of challenging the viewer to engage with it. You have to be on the ball, and you have to kind of pay attention, because it's going to shift in ways you didn't expect, and because the characters are doing things that you might not expect either. So I'm enjoying it, but I have a strong sense of deja vu, and tomorrow the curse of the final session may strike.
Well, I mean, this is not a long play, but it seems to have crammed in an awful lot of plot. I mean, it's like you're expecting, oh, he's murdered 2 people. That's going to go on for a while. No, he just went to the court and he's just lost his man, and it triggers a different plot, which is an extension of the original plot, and it's sort of these little threads are doing all sorts, and so it's this thing. I've even, you know, if I hadn't already read the play and seen it, I wouldn't know where it's going. It's genuinely, I don't think it's going to end well, but it could. It could. It's not impossible for this to turn elements of it around. Not likely, but it's possible. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's moving at a heck of a pace. I've lost count of how far through the alphabet we've got with plot numbers. I think there's been about 3, 4, 5 separate strands so far, some of which have interlinked, other which seem to be, at the moment, interesting diversions and potentially side cul-de-sacs. I was wondering whether we know anything about the performance history of this, as to what type of company this was actually originally done by, because a lot of the wordplay humour does remind me of the Boys' Company type material.
Well, no, it's once again it's Heywood's at this time, so it's Worcester's Men is the company. Dates say February Marchish 1603, which is actually 1602. Just to confuse you all. So yeah, it's like so many of the Worcester's Men plays that we've done with Heywood, pretty much as probable author for, is that it's quite tight. There's not necessarily a big cast. The play itself isn't necessarily that long. So there's something about the construction that seems to be fitting that very nicely. Briony, any final thoughts?
Nothing life-changing to add.
Fair enough. We don't have to all speak at length. It is allowed. Eric, any final thoughts?
I'm just enjoying the evolution of Nicholas, who started off with going, I will be brief. I'm not compendious, sort of sounding like really fancy among the other servants, and then sort of becoming this character of sort of vital importance to the plot, because the other characters haven't really reappeared. And I don't know, it's just quite an interesting play so far. I don't know if there's much more I can say aside from, there are. My brain is sort of ticking off references to other. I mean, like references like plays that we've seen, scenes like the card scene, game scene. Like we've seen that in Misogynist, where they're just like listing different games. We don't know how that works. But then this one seems a lot clearer. This scene seems a lot clearer with what it's trying to achieve. So there is less confusion, I think, with this one. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Cool. Alexandra, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have some issues with things like instant true love, just that enchantment. But I think if we've agreed that this is really well structured, at least so far, that there's very interesting character traits and character evolutions, and that we don't know where it's going, but we do know we want to be there when it arrives. I agree with all of that. I think there's a major issue in the putting on of this as a modern performance. There's a major issue with the treatment of women in general, rather than of the only woman in the title, because there aren't any other women. There are 3 women who don't speak. There is another woman who is Susan, who is also an object, essentially, that kind of gets transferred as a point of interest from being her brother's supporter to being some other dude's. I saw her and therefore fell in love. But I think in the case of Anne specifically, the fact that she doesn't have a lot to say, we're halfway through the play and she has spoken less than Nicholas and less than Susan. I think there's something you can do in a modern production to really make her sympathetic, or at least sort of bring a lot of emphasis to her by having her try to speak a lot more and never get the chance. And I think if we establish the way that she is treated as being unkindness from most people, rather than just neglect and indifference, because that is how society treats the female of the species, making it clear that this is, that she is suffering under the treatment that she's receiving, it might sort of justify a bit more her decision to go and basically throw herself into this adultery with Wendoll, or potentially that she isn't a voluntary participant. And that would explain why in the scene where with the cards, she is all about her husband, and I think addresses Wendoll exactly once to say, what are you? As opposed to expressing any sympathy or any kind of collusion with him. So I think there's something in the fact that we don't get a lot of her that you could put on in a modern production to get a lot more. Because otherwise, I think that's a major issue with putting this on.
Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got a lot of Heywood's good qualities. I mean, there's also the fact that pretty well all the parts are worth playing. Again, they're sort of interesting characters. Even the minor ones say sort of interesting things. Yeah, I think the main problem in the play is pretty much what people have mentioned. I mean, that Anne Frankford's reasons for having an affair with Wendoll seem inadequate. And I think possibly that your idea is right, that's the way to play it. I think she is pretty miserable in this affair as far as one can make out. I mean, I'd agree that in the cards scene, I think she's really unhappy about the way things are going, whereas I think Wendoll is sort of hubris, really, kind of this fool doesn't understand what's going on. Ho ho, I'm going to make some witty remarks that I understand and Anne will enjoy, but nobody else will get, and doesn't realize that people know something. I suppose you could also just suggest that he's kind of like a basilisk or something, that once he really comes at her, and especially since they are alone on stage, and he's a sort of towering presence, she just feels she's kind of being pinned to the wall. And, the combination of sexuality and terror and I don't know. And also the whole, this is to historicize it, which we don't seem usually to do, but I think there is that feeling that women have, that the only virtue really for a woman is chastity. And once you lose it, you're damned anyway. And it doesn't really matter what you do.
Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, a couple of things. As we've noted, there's really a lot to admire about the way this play is structured. And I'm really hoping, although I'm not super optimistic, that the Sir Charles and Acton plot intersects with the Frankfords and Wendoll plot in some way other than that the wife's brother is a connecting character. I don't know, I can't think of how that would happen, but now they just sort of seem to be running in parallel, thematically as well. So that's not nothing. But right now the Sir Charles and Susan plot is feeling a little like filler. Like we just needed a 2-hour play and we didn't have one. So we just sort of added a plot that sort of echoes the main plot. So I'm kind of hoping that we'll be impressed with how they intersect structurally, but we'll see. And the other thing I'm thinking is that, the things escalate so quickly. The fight between Charles and Acton, the seduction of Anne, all this, you don't really have time to see people's motivations. Why do people do anything? It's because the play calls for it. So you need to make a decision, I think, whether you're going to lean into the absurdity of that and just sort of make it transparent that this happens next because the play requires it to happen next. And this is sort of an absurdist tragedy. Or you could try to smooth that over and try to make it more naturalistic and make people's motivations seem more plausible. I think you need to make a choice about that.
Yes, I think there does seem to be something about the Worcester's Men repertoire that doesn't seem to be engaging that much with subtlety sometimes. It does seem to be that there's potentially a lot of very bold playing going on. That just seems to be where the text seems to be going, which creates more of a problem when we've got some characters who don't necessarily have all the things there, or certain scenes that don't have all the things there that might be being filled in by what performers are doing, though that could just be hypothesis that has no bearing. I don't know. Sarah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have many final thoughts. To what you and Lynn were just saying, that is, for me, that's the strength of the play. I think this play leaves gaps for the actor. I don't think that things move along very quickly, but I don't think it's absurd. I think it's just that you have to, as an actor, fill in, there's an expectation, I think, on the part of the writer, maybe, that the actor is going to know what to do with these lines, because it seems to me that the lines are only half this play. There's so much subtext, there's so much going on. You can, in between those lines, you can add in so much characterization. The lines are spare, but they support really good characterization. And so I think those gaps are deliberate. That it's like there is a space that's been left for the actors to act, to characterize. And so I'm really, really enjoying it. And because of that, because that's how I'm seeing this play, I agree with everything that Alexandra says about Anne, but I actually don't have a problem with it because I think there is absolute space in the play for the actor who's playing Anne to make her a fairly magnificent character, actually. Just everything that is happening to her, everything that she is feeling. I just think obviously you have to have a director who is going to leave the actors that space and who is going to encourage them to take that space and push the play in that direction. But I think this could actually be a really great play about, you know, the dilemma that these women find themselves in. And I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm just finding the title really interesting, A Woman Killed with Kindness, because like, you know, Lynn's right. The two plots, the place where they meet is in the theme. And honestly, I can't, it's a woman. So I assume only one of them is killed with kindness. But at the moment, I couldn't say which one it's going to be, because yes, Anne's the main character. She's the main like female protagonist, but actually Susan is, I assume, about to be subjected to very similar behavior. And I'm assuming one is going to go one way and one is going to go another. But as to which one it is and which way the play jumps, I have a guess. I can have a guess, but I don't know for certain. It seems that this play is saying some very, very interesting things about women's experience and the reality of their lives, which I really enjoy. And as I've said before, I think there's a lot to pull out for a contemporary audience, but it's because there's space in the text for that to happen.
Well, we have gone, well, actually, we've stuck to pretty good time considering how much text we crammed in today. So we are at the end of this session. We have one more session to go to find out how the play ends. I'm sure, you know, happy-go-lucky way where everybody goes out for tea and muffins. So all that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much and goodbye. Call for the cushion dance.